Hi, Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain and Paint and Porcelain Exchange. I'm here to get beginners started in China painting, and I also want to encourage those of you that have been painting a while to share with us any of the tips and tricks that you know. Today we're going to work on sheep, which is something I've never tried before, and nobody does sheep, okay? So part of the thing I want to show you is the process I learned to teach myself how to do something. And, you know, there aren't enough teachers to go around. I feel like, I know I have a lot more experience than some of you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have as good as I, or that you couldn't follow some of these steps to get yourself started if there's something you really want to paint. So if you'll remember, several weeks ago, I posted this picture. It was white, and I said, you know, the challenge this week is to paint something you've never painted before. Karen Davis came on and she was so cute. She said, I could see it all painted in my head. She says it should be spring. There should be a brook running through it and a farm and flowers. And I just put LOL, you know. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, that's not such a bad idea. So I started looking through things, but I wanted to do a winter scene, and I started looking through pictures on Google and what have you, and I came across this barn that I really liked. And then I came across these were, you know, the freebies. I came across a barn I liked. I came across sheep. And what you want to do is you want to get the sheep in a number of different stages if you're going to be painting them. So I got a close-up. Okay, I got a middle. Oh, here, let me hold it with both hands here so you can see it a little better. Middle version. And then I got a distance version of the same sheep going down the road. And I looked at this distance version and I thought, well, they're a ball of fluff. They basically have a black head and 4 feet. And I thought, well, I can do that. So this is what I've been working on, and this is what got me interested in sheep. So I started with the barn because I knew I could do the barn. So I started with the barn and I painted the barn and I put the little brick or stone wall in and everything and got the barn all done. And then I did the sheep. And you can see they're just fluff balls, black heads, and 4 feet. That's all there is to it. Well, these were easy. So this took about 3 fires so far, and I'm still working on it. And that's just for my personal interest. So then I came across these cute little trays downstairs, and this is a second fire. If I hold it really close, you can see the texture on the fur, the wool there, and that's what I did on the second fire. I didn't do it on the first fire. So that just gives you an idea of where you can go from here. I took several photos, or found several photos, and I saved them. And then I had a Word document that I imported them into so I could just print them out and have them handy. And, you know, you can adjust them, make them bigger or smaller if you know a lot about how to use Word. Then I took and I did a freehand design. Everything I do is freehand. So I did this freehand. Then I did the sheep. So this sheep here, I freehanded that sheep right there. This sheep right here, I freehanded the sheep right next to him, right there. So that's how I got these sheep. And then the other two, I just sort of looked around at my sheep pictures and just tried to get them facing different ways. This little guy over here in the corner is showing his back to us, so that's no big deal. Okay, and so I put those on. So that was the next thing I did, was freehanded. Now, I think when you're painting sheep, you need to think about layers. I looked at the close-up because I thought that would help me the most with the layers. And as you can see from the close-up, it's dark underneath and it's light on top. So you can paint the dark underneath and then wipe out to get some of the light on top if you want. But notice it's dark on top, on the bottom, and that's what brings out the curls on their coat. And then I found a sheep face that I thought I could paint because the black ones were all black and you couldn't see the eyes easily. These had white just in the middle. I like the ones that had the white over the eyes and down the face, and so that those are the ones I painted. So on the first fire, we're only looking at shading. You look at this sheep here. What colors do you see? I see an ivory over on this side of him, right there. I see browns over here. If you look closer, you see a lot of black, maybe even a little bit of reddish color in there, like an auburn. Okay? And then his face, what is his face? His face can be white, and that's why I left it white. But around the forehead, there's a little bit of black. So those were the colors I decided to use. So for today, you're going to need, and I just have my big palette out because I'm going to use my whole palette because that's what I would do if I were teaching myself. Here I have my rich brown. This is my auburn. See how it has a little red in it? Can you see that right there? Oops, I have to go over this way more, see? And then I have my warm brown green. For the blues, I used air blue. I used, I used Copenhagen a lot on this. The red, I used my carnation. For the tree, I used the browns. And then for the back trees, I have forest and spruce. Forest on the first coat and spruce on the second. So that would be like moss green and black green if that's what you have. But you can use whatever you have. And you're going to be teaching yourself how to do this. The brushes that I'm going to be using on the first fire, I'm going to be using my Paintnporcelain. A lot of you know what the Paintnporcelain looks like. This is it. Because it's good to get around his eyes and his mouth. I'm going to be using this one. I'm going to be using a little bit of a fur brush, if you have a fur brush. Otherwise, use the side of one of your brushes just to get a little bit of texture in there, but you don't have to get a lot of texture in there. And then I'm also going to be using, like, this is a 1/4 inch brush. And then for the, the snow and those kinds of things, I'm probably going to be using, my favorite, of course, is this one, the rounded one that we have, the filbert that I have. I like the filbert. So these are my sheep as they stand right now. And I'm going to start out with the sheep, and then I'm going to move to the buildings, and then I'm going to put a little bit underneath them and what have you, and you'll see how it goes. For this, I actually ended up going back to using the combination that Randy told me about, that half copaiba and half mineral oil. It just seemed like it worked better for me. So here we go. I'm going to turn this around so you can at least see what I'm doing. And I'm going to load my brush with that copaiba. And I'm going to take a little bit of ivory, a little bit of warm brown gray. If you don't have warm brown gray, you can use something just as simple as a hair brown. Hair brown, I think, would work very similarly. And we're going to start, and we're going to just put in, using the side of the brush, not the tip, but the side. You're just going to kind of tap in his fur. And I'm using a fur brush, but you don't have to use a fur brush. And I'm going to tap it in with a little bit of, here's a little bit of, that's ivory. That's an old ivory. I like ivory. I didn't mention ivory earlier, but yes, I do like an old ivory. And you just tap it in, really. There's nothing to it. And just keep going. You go down his leg. You're looking at the picture, and you're trying to figure out what part of him is highlighted. So this is the ivory, and that's why I'm doing it. Then I'm going to take a little bit of the warm brown gray, and I'm going to try to figure out where he should have a little more color. So I'm going to go down his leg. See there? I'm going down his leg, down the leg back here, down this leg. The hoofs on this guy are black, so that's why I'm waiting to do the hoofs on him. And then around his neck is going to be a little more kind of almost a black. So I'm taking my warm brown gray, mixing it with the black. Oops, that's too dark. And I'm just going around his neck and down in here. This is still a little dark. You can use the other side of your brush because see, you're only using the one side of the brush to paint with. I'm going to turn them around so I make sure I get this in the right spot. I'm coming down this line right here. I'm coming down that line. I'm coming across the bottom. And I'm going to come down this side a little bit. Down the front a little bit. And then on his head, I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm taking a little ivory and the warm brown. Whoops. And I'm just going to do his head. Now in these guys, the color comes down in the middle, almost like a widow's peak. And then the color comes down on each side, but his face, let me show you on here. Let me get a pencil. His face, even though I've got this, even though I have this set up like this, his face is actually like this. And then he has the two eyes in here and his nose. And the rest around here, and including in here, is all the fur. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm setting up the fur first, coming down the sides of his, let me make sure I've got the right side, yeah. Coming down the sides of his face. I'm going around the bottom. And then I'm coming up this side of his face, not touching the ears. And I'm coming in a little where the cheeks would be. So here, I'm going to bring him up so you can see him. Now I think this in here is a little dark, this black. So I'm going to just touch it out a little bit. And I want a little more black down here, where down in his undercoat right here. Oh, too much. And that's the fur brush I'm using. It is called a fur brush, by the way. See, it's a little bit white on the top. Let me clean it out so you can really see it. It's a little bit white on the top, a little bit dark at the bottom. Okay, and now I'm going to take, I have this brush, and I'm sure everybody has one like this. It's a long, skinny brush, but it's not exactly a pointer, but it's not exactly, you know, a brush. And I love it. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the black, and I'm going to do his ears. And I'm just going to outline his ears. I'm going to make them mainly black. Okay, and his hoofs, because his hoofs are black. Let me get a little bit here. There you go. Then you can take your Paintnporcelain, get around his head, make sure you've gotten his eyes separated, and then you have to put the eyes in. Now when you put the eyes in, make sure he's facing you. Get a picture of a sheep. Oop, here. So this is the sheep that I'm painting right now. Let me turn him around so you can see him. This is this guy. This is this guy right here. So see his eyes? They're kind of dark and on a slant. And that's exactly what you want. So I'm going to turn him towards me so I can really see what I'm doing, and I'm going to make it dark and on a slant. Then I'm going to put his nose in. His nose, it curls up a little. So the noses on these guys go like this. I'm going to make them big so you can see them. They go like this on the, oops, I need more. Here. They go like this on the sides, and then they come down like this to this and this. Okay? So that's kind of what you're going for the nose, a simplistic version of it so you can see. Remember, these are tiny. So if you make things that are small, you don't have to be quite as accurate. You just have to get it so people know what it is you've done and how you've done it. Oops, I need more black. Come here, you. Probably should have used my micro brush for this. My guy isn't very happy. Use your Picopay if you need to wipe off some of the color that you got in there. And there's my guy. Now, I do want this up here to be a little bit lighter, so I use this and just pounce a little bit and it will get a little bit lighter. But it's entirely up to you. You don't have to do that. You can just sort of, you know, do whatever you want. I need a little brown in there. Okay. Okay, that's the first guy. Second guy is just as easy. We're going to put a lot of ivory up in here. Okay. And we're going to take the warm brown gray or whatever color you want to use there, and we're going to put it down underneath here. Oh, let me get it a little darker. Test it on your tile. If it's too dark, you know, you can change it. That's easy enough. And you're going to do it down the middle of them there, down the middle of them there, a little here, and a little down here. You can add a little black to it if you want. Make it really interesting. Come on, black, black. Try not to add too much black to it. And then he has a leg here, and two legs back here. There we go. I only see one of the two. I could put another one back there. And then around his face, we're just going to do the, oops, I did the ear. We're going to do this, come all the way around his face. Okay. And he has little black booties that are in the snow too. So we're going to need my Picopay. Love my Picopay. There we go. Put his little boots in the snow here. And that's my little lamb there. Now I'm going to do his little eyes. His eyes are on a slant. They're kind of dead eyes. They're just black. So you don't have to really worry about doing such a terrific job on them. And there we go. Now I think he needs a little bit, just a little bit of a, there. A little more around here. This is the brown that I'm using, the warm brown gray. And then we'll do his ears. And his ears are black. Okay, so we're just shading on this one. Remember, it's just shading. This guy back here is a snap. This guy back here is a snap. So let me show you how to do him. And you're just going to take and do mainly ivory. I'm actually going to leave kind of the middle of his back pretty light. I just come down here a little bit, down there a little bit, down there, down there. A little bit down there. Then I'm going to take the brown. Now he's further back, so I've got warm brown gray, and I'm just doing his head. Oops, it's not quite dark enough. There we go. I'm doing his head, and I'm doing his little bottom down here, and a little bit around this side. Because, you know, they get dirty down at the bottom where they're in the snow and stuff, and that's why the color change. Okay, so that's that guy. Not much to him. You don't even have to do anything but his ears. So I'm doing his little ears. Now this last guy's a little more brown, so I'm doing him in kind of a rich brown and that kind of thing. Oops. And I'm just, like I said, this is the shading part. We're just dabbing. We're just playing. You don't have to get a little black on here. I'm using an auburn, a little bit of black. Isn't this simple? This is so much fun, and it's so easy. And lambs are just a riot. They're just, I can't tell you how easy this is. Oops, shouldn't have done that there, because that's actually the lightest side of him, right? Get a little ivory to take care of my mistake there. There we go. Yeah, it's easy to correct mistakes on this. He should be a little bit lighter back here, and then up in there. And I'm going to make him a little rounder, so I'm going to take a little of this, and I'm just going to come down and kind of round it off like that. Then we're going to go around his face. So see what I've done so far? We're going to go around his face, and that's the easy part. Give him a little widow's peak there. And if it doesn't work, you know, you can use your eraser. Wipe it all out before you go ahead and finish his face. Make sure you got the color on there the way you want it. Put his little black ears on if you want, and then put his little, now I don't think no, he's in the snow, so I didn't do the little black feet. You could do a little more on this guy perhaps. I did a separate, here, let me do this back here. I think I did 4 legs on him. Back here, I'm going to just use this brush to tap in the 4th leg. And I can separate these 2 legs by just doing this right here. Up. There we go. Okay, now we're going to put his face on him over here on this other side. So we're going to start with his ears. I'm going to try to do this so it faces you as much as possible. And I can't thank Nancy Gilbert enough for telling me about that brush, because that brush has been a godsend. That one that does fur. And you give them all a little personality there. Okay, we're done with our sheep. Pretty simple, don't you think? Now I'm using Copenhagen, and I'm going to just do the barn. Using my filbert brush. Love my filbert brush. It makes it very easy. This barn I'm doing in blue. Need a little more Copenhagen right here. Up. There we go. There we go. And then there's a little bit of the barn peeking out here. So I'll do a little blue there. Got a little blue on him. That's what the finger's for. Okay. And then I'm also going to use this blue. I did the sky after I did all the trees and everything. I did the trees and everything first. I think that was a mistake. I think I should do the sky now. So I'm going to put the sky in. I'm using a combination of like a baby blue and a Copenhagen. I want it to look a little bit like a real kind of a wintry sky, but at the same time I want it to be pretty. So I'm trying to get the colors in here for you. I like celestial blue. I don't know if you've ever seen that. That's this color here. And it's a really pretty, almost like a sky blue. Now this area back here is all going to be trees, but I don't mind having some blue over it. And then I'm going to take the Copenhagen and just kind of go in there and over there. Now I'm doing it upside down, so I have no idea what it's really looking like. The sky actually should be darker as you get to the ground, or lighter? Lighter as you get to the ground. I'm just looking out the window to confirm. Okay, there, there, there. And if you don't get it everywhere, that's fine. And then, no, actually, I kind of like that. Maybe I should paint my skies upside down more often. I'm just letting it go off the plate. Okay, this little house here is going to be red. I'm going to use just that, oh, where's that funny brush I have? This one. I think I'll just use this funny brush that I have. The one that's like not a liner, but I use it like a liner, but it's not really a liner. And I'm going to put my carnation on it because I do like carnation. And for most of my things it works, but for some reason it didn't work on that picture I did. And I have to tell you, I think that's a sign that when you have your reds fire out, and I've never had that red fire out, ever. And it consistently fires out every time I put it back on. So I thought maybe at first I had trouble with my timer, but then I put it back on and I still had trouble with it. So it could be the type of china that you use that causes the issues. So, you know, don't be surprised. Put a little red chimney on this one. I didn't put a chimney on the other one. And then I'm going to take my black. I'm not cleaning my brush because black is easy to do. And I'm just putting in the door. Then I'll put in the window and the other door. Okay. And over here, we're just going to put in the door. Now we're going to do the little fence. I'm just doing it in black. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because it's way back here. And then you're going to do barbed wire across. Now, the secret is to try to get your paint to sort of skip as you do it. You don't want real good lines. And then you just want a couple little see? Oh, let me put a little here. There, see? For the barbed wire, I just did little tickies on it so it looks like barbed wire. You don't have to do anything super fancy. Okay. And then I'm going to take, and I'm going to do these trees. These trees are simple, 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 simple. Nothing is hard on this, really. You're going to take rich brown, and these are the pine trees right here, and paint them up. Okay. Most of my trees, I paint from the bottom up. It just seems like it works better. I don't know why. Now I'm taking, you can use a forest green, which is what I'm using. You can use warm brown green. You could use a moss green, whatever color you want. Blue green, depends on what kind of evergreens you want. And I'm just painting them up right now. Remember, we've got another whole coat on this. So, and then I'm going to do this little guy the same way. They're bigger at the bottom than they are at the top. I'm only using the one color this week. I'm going to fire it, and then I'm going to add other colors next week. I will go back, though, take a little of the brown, and I am going to put it a little bit through here. Just to make it look, that might be a bit much. If it's a bit much, you get out your Paintnporcelain, and you just do this. Okay. And that's it. That's all I'm doing this week. If you want to take a Paintnporcelain and kind of, you can do this. Make sure you wipe it off. Work from the bottom up. Okay? Pretty simple. Now back here, we have like a stand of trees. Well, I can use any brush. I'm going to use my filbert. You don't have to have a filbert, by the way. I just like it because it's kind of, when you turn it this way, you get a nice point, sort of. And I can use it for a number of different things, but you don't have to use a filbert. You use whatever you have. Okay, so I'm taking my warm brown gray, and I'm just going to, and this I have to do this way. I'm just going to take and sort of dab back here initially. But I'm dabbing with the side of my brush, like this, to get the stand of trees back here. It's like shrub, you know? We don't want to... Okay. Then I take... Oh, nuts. And I take my liner, I use my darkest brown. I'm going to start at the bottom. I need some oil. And I'm just going to pull up. This is just shrubbery. You can mix your colors of brown. It doesn't have to all be the same brown. I like the darker brown with the lighter brown behind it. I think it adds another dimension. Okay, and then I have to turn it so I can actually see it, so I can finish this out. That's pretty good. Okay, and then I have this tree. This tree's easy. I do it from the bottom up. I'm going to use my 1/4 inch, this guy, the 1/4 inch. Clean them up really well. I'm going to start them from the bottom up. I'm going to start them with a lighter color first. The idea is to let it skip. You don't need bark, you don't need it to be perfect. Let it skip. If it skips, it'll give you cool, like little holes and things. I should probably put the sky over on this side too. Don't think about it. Just sort of doodle and you'll get a really cool, but start from the bottom up, work upside down. You just seem to get a better tree that way. Remember, this is the first coat. If you want it to be different on the second coat, you can do that. If you want to add snow to it, you can do that. There. Okay, good enough. Now we're going to add the snow that's on the ground. And for that, I use a combination of, now if you have gray, that's great. You could use gray for it. You could use blue for it. I think I want to do it more with the, and the shading, I think I want to do it more with like a Copenhagen. It's a winter. I'm using my filbert, and I'm just tapping it around. You do have to look at it face on. You can't do this one upside down because you want to make sure that you have it going the right direction. I want a little over in here. Okay. I want a little up in here. That's going to be kind of weird. There. A little maybe over in here, just to have the edge. This little guy's standing and he's casting a shadow. That's about all you need, and then maybe a little around the tree. I put a little up here too, because otherwise I don't think I would see when I fire it exactly where the roof should be. So, and I just pull it down like that. And I'll do a little over on this house too, just so we have it. Now on this house, I had a white, I have white frames around everything. So I'm taking my stub, wiping it out, wipe it off after each time you go across. You can try using those pointed Q-tips. My experience with them is they aren't worth it. I have had a horrible time with them, and I just really don't care for them. Oh, and I think there's a little window here. I like my stubs. Okay, and one last thing I noticed is I didn't put any boards. Here we are. I didn't put any boards on the, oh, here, I want this to be a little bit dark here. Let me get a little black with this. I'm using my 1/4 inch. Okay. I need to put, I can just use my 1/4 inch. I need to put boards on here. There. Those are a little bit thick, so I get a little bit of my Copenhagen and just, there, better. Okay, I'm gonna sign my name. So then you go over it. You look at each of the places, especially the faces of these animals. Make sure that you have all the white where you want it. And if you don't, go back and put it in. And that's it. This way. Here we go. This is the first fire. This will be the second fire. It's just a little more definition. And then what I'm going to do, I don't know if you noticed it on here, we also add texture to the fur. And we are adding, over there you can see a little bit of white enamel kind of stuff for snow. It's actually base for raised gold. Pick up those brushes, keep painting. I hope you enjoyed the program. And I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My Paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.